Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about practical ways by which you can get into UI UX design this year. This is a follow-up video from a previous video which I did on how to get into UI UX design, which was very focused on the theory aspect and the high-level vision that you need to have in order to learn UI UX design in a fast and efficient way. But in this video we're going to get much more practical. And if you're interested in seeing the previous video, you can click in the link in the description, as I'm going to leave it over there, so you can have the best of both worlds. But in this video we're going to get very practical, and I'm going to give you real life advice since I've been doing this for over 8 years now. I'm currently making 6 figures and I'm working with clients from all around the world, so I definitely have a lot of knowledge to share. And without further ado, let's jump into the video. In this video, we'll talk about how to learn and get started into UI UX design. So the very first thing that I want to say is that we're going to get very practical, and in the previous video, which you can check out in the link in the description, you're going to be able to see the more theoretical part of how to learn UI UX design and what are the things to consider. But in this video, we're going to go practical. So let's get started. So the things that we're going to discuss in this video is the design basics, and also, of course, a UI UX focus, and also the design tools and the study paths. Now, when it comes to the design basics, basically these are going to be the basics that you must learn no matter if you want to become a UI UX designer, a web designer, or even a graphic designer, because the design basics are going to remain the same. So I'm going to give you some books and tools to learn the design basics, and these are books which for the most part have had a great impact on my career, and that I strongly encourage to you to read and revise. So the very next part is the UI UX key resources, and these are going to be resources which are going to bring your user experience and digital skills to the next level. So these are going to be really useful. Now, another thing that we're going to discuss is design tools, because design tools and design softwares are actually like some of the questions which I receive the most on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram DMs is regarding which is the best design tool, which is one is the most sought out by employers and clients. So I'm going to answer all of these questions in just a moment. And we're also going to discuss about the different study paths which you have at your disposal if you want to get started and become a UI UX designer or even a web designer. So let's get started with the very first resource, which I strongly recommend you to check out. And by the way, all of these resources, I don't have any affiliate links. I don't have any affiliation with these books or the courses which I'm going to recommend. So I'm totally giving this as personal advice based on my personal experience. And Universal Design Principles, I think it's a great book. It enables you to learn the basic design principles in a fast and efficient way. And overall, just great to really understand things like usability, perception, and really learning about how to make design decisions efficiently. So great book, which I strongly recommend you if you're starting out in design. Now, let's talk about typography, since this is going to be a very important topic if you're going to branch out into the design world. And one of the best recommendations when it comes to learning typography and type in general is this book, which is Thinking with Type by Ellen Lupton. And I think this book is really good, especially for beginners that are approaching typography for the first time, since it covers both the basics and also advanced principles in a very easy way. And it's a very visual book, although there's also a lot of really good theory advice and a lot of classic text. And overall, I think it's a great book. So let's move on to the next one, which is Color Theory, and this is specifically Color by Betty Edwards. Great book if you want to learn about color and understanding all of the color theory principles. Now, the very next book is about branding, and branding is a very important core principle that you want to really learn about if you're getting into UI UX design, because pretty much all of the projects you're going to be involved with are going to have elements of brand identity, and you're going to need to keep in mind the brand identity of the client, or if they don't have one, you'll need to create one from scratch. And the website, the web apps, and the mobile apps are all going to be core and the very important elements of creating a company's brand identity. So really, in order to understand brand identity from the basics, I would recommend you to check out this book right here, which is Designing Brand Identity by Lena Wheeler. It's one of those books that are pretty much always recommended when it comes to branding, as it's a really good book. Now, another very important principle is grid systems and learning how to use grids, understanding the layouts. And the old classic book by Joseph Müller-Brockmann is definitely one of the most sought out books in this regard, and definitely a very good book. It has that old style feeling, but it's an evergreen in the subject. It's one of those books that you really can't go wrong, and it's just a great book if you want to learn about grid systems and the layout in general. Now, we talked about the design basics, and I recommended you some resources. And by the way, I recommended you books specifically because although there's a lot of blog posts and videos and that you can check out, I think that the act of learning design basics via the book just has another feeling, and it adds some more depth to the learning experience, and especially focus, because it just adds another dimension, in my opinion. It's difficult to explain by words. It's more of it kind of gives you a more tactile feeling to your learning experience. And now let's discuss another really important element, which is, of course, UI UX design specific resources. So the very first resource which I recommend you to check out is Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. And this is a classic because this book is pretty much all about user experience and and also web usability, and pretty much gives you a clear idea as to what the ideal user experience and what a usable experience really looks like. And the whole premise is that you don't want to make the user do a lot of hard work and as the title suggests, a lot of thinking when it comes to creating your experiences. So definitely a great book to check out, and again, it's one of those evergreens in the design field. Now, another great book is Lean UX, and this really is going to have a big impact on your mindset when you're going to approach UX projects, since this is going to give you a really practical and tactical approach when you're designing products, and especially working with agile teams, which you're likely going to do a whole lot if you're going to work in UI UX design. Now, we briefly mentioned the importance of coding in the previous video, and we also mentioned that you don't necessarily need to become a front-end developer. You don't necessarily need to be like super good at coding, but you definitely want to learn the basics of HTML and CSS, and also some knowledge, and you want to have some experience with JavaScript and jQuery, even if it's just from a high level. And the books from John Duckett, I think they're unmatched in terms of quality of the learning experience, because and I tried a lot. I bought a lot of books on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I think that these books are amazing. They're really well thought out. They're very visual, and they express the concepts in a very simple and efficient way. So definitely check them out. And now let's move on to one of my favorite book series when it comes to design and also web and UI UX design specifically, and that is the series From a Book Apart. Now, as you can see, if you go on their website and you click on the store section, you're going to have some starter packs, and I highly recommend you to check them out, because especially the one on responsive design and collaborative design, also the ones on the process, but really like there's a lot of gems in the books, and definitely really cool learning material, and you're going to have like books for months and months. They really have a lot of them, and yeah, overall I think great learning and reading selection. Now let's also open a brief parenthesis when it comes to YouTube and Medium. Now I think that in order to add into your learning experience, you should also look into YouTube and also Medium articles, specifically because in the world of UI UX, Medium is kind of a big deal. There's a lot of top UI UX designers which write on Medium, and especially in the Muesli section, and yeah, overall you can find some really great articles. Now also on YouTube, there's a lot of great videos out there, and although I have some channels in mind, I wouldn't really focus on just suggesting you one channel and tell you like, oh, you need to learn everything that on that specific channel, but because on YouTube there's a lot of different videos, and some channels excel in some areas, other ones excel in other ones. So my best recommendation is to keep your mind open when it comes to YouTube, and have a look around at different videos and see also which instructor resonates more with you. For example, on my YouTube, I have over 300 videos. So if you're in they are all about design, both software tutorials, theory lessons, just like this one, and also on other things like the business aspect, the marketing, the freelancing, and how to do that. So definitely a lot on YouTube, but yeah, there's also a lot of other channels which you might as well check out, since the number of topics are really high in this field. Now let's talk about the different routes as to how you can learn UI UX design. So the very first one is the self-taught route, and the pros are that it's entirely like you set the base for your learning. You can invest 1 hour a week, you can invest 5 hours, 10 hours, or even more, and it's usually regarded as the cheapest route, since you don't have to make a whole lot of investment up front in order to learn. Now the second one is the part-time or full-time courses, and these include also boot camps. And then there's the third route, which is college and university, which usually is the most long path and also the most expensive one. Now, I dabbled in all three of them, meaning that I started by learning by myself using a self-taught route. Then I transitioned to a part-time course, so I have experience with that as well. And then I also attended a BA in graphic design at Ravensbourne University in London, and that was a 3 years degree. So I kind of have experience when it comes to all three of these routes. And my best suggestion, if you're going with the first one, is to find a mentor. And the simple reason is that a mentor is going to keep you focused on the things that matter the most. It's going to keep track of the progress, and it's going to understand what are your weaknesses, weak points that you need to insist upon, and also keep you accountable, which is a great thing. And I think it's definitely worth the investment. And by the way, I'm not pitching any mentorship. I'm not doing any mentorship at the moment. So just a brief disclaimer on that, since just to demonstrate, I'm not really I'm not giving the suggestion with a second goal. So I just think that genuinely finding a mentor is just a really good idea if you're starting out pretty much in any field. You want to find someone who's already been there, done that, and can teach you how to do the same. Now, if you're going with the self-taught route, definitely study all of the key books. I mentioned plenty in this video, but there's many more that, of course, you can consider. And also develop portfolio projects, since your portfolio is going to be the key in order to get the first experiences with clients. And basically, you want to get to industry experience, to get some work experience as soon as you can, and because that is going to give you is going to speed up your learning curve dramatically, and also give you portfolio items to get more experience and get better projects, better paying projects, and you can go from there all the way to getting a full-time position at your dream job. Now, the second option is to go with the part-time or full-time course. Now, the only one which I tried is from the graphicdesignschool.com. And although the focus was on graphic design, and also took the web design certificate, but this was a while ago. I don't even know if they have it anymore. I can tell you that the course was structured really, really well. So it's the only one which I can really recommend because I did it. And when it comes to the boot camps, you might want to find either local boot camps or even remote ones. The choice is totally up to you. But I would recommend you to find a local UI UX bootcamp or course, because you're going to also to interact quite a bit more with other students, and maybe learning in the class is going to be a better experience overall, just more engaging. But if you cannot do that, also online you can find plenty of courses. Just be sure to do your research and check out the reviews, but also speak with previous students if you can, in order to really evaluate if that course or bootcamp is good. Now let's talk about the third option, which is college or university. Now this is the most expensive option and also the time-consuming one. Is it worth it? I can say 100% if it's like the best option out of them all. I personally been to university, and I can tell you it helped me to get my foot in the door when it comes to the first work experience. But I definitely think that you can get to my same position also by doing a course or doing the self-taught route. maybe it's going to take a little bit more, but there's definitely you're not at a massive disadvantage if that's what you're thinking. If you don't go to college or university, I know very successful designers that didn't attend a design college or university. So definitely, if you cannot do that option, don't worry about it too much. But it's definitely an option that you can consider if you have the resources to do it. And personally, I would recommend you to go either to Europe or US and Canada. Overall, in the design industry, from what I heard, it's like those are kind of like the best locations, especially since you're going to find work more easily, especially in the US and Canada. Afterwards, like those are usually the places where you can find the higher paid positions. So definitely consider, although the cost of the tuition is significantly higher, so also take that in consideration. But again, these are just really broad guidelines, so it's not like you should absolutely just do this, or otherwise it's not good. It's still a really good learning experience anyways. Just again, like for the courses, do your research, talk with previous students, and really evaluate the decision hard before you make a decision. So design tools, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Any one of these free design tools are totally fine. Just choose one and master it. Reason being is that especially if you're working as a freelancer or as a consultant, most of the times companies don't care what design software you're going to use. Now, the second reason is that if you learn one design software, learning the other one is going to be a very small learning curve, since they are very, very similar at this time. Maybe it's going to take you like a day or two to transition from Figma to Sketch or Sketch to Adobe XD, but it's definitely not a big deal. So yeah, I would just focus on one. Each and every one of these design softwares can do pretty much the same thing. So yeah, it's I wouldn't stress too much about it. Now, on a final note, I want to recommend you to always develop side projects, and these are going to be really useful also to integrate in your portfolio. And I cannot tell you the amount of times that a side project, which I just did for fun, or as literally like as a side project, and then I put it in the portfolio, and then a client hired me simply because I had that side project in the portfolio, because it was really good design, was really well thought out, there was a logic behind it. So definitely something to consider. You don't necessarily need to show real life projects, especially when you're first starting out in the portfolio to get hired, because most of the times clients just want to see your potential when it comes to executing their projects, and they also want to understand that your logic, so that there is thinking involved and a problem solving mindset behind the project. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, side projects and that you're going to add in your portfolios are going to have a massive impact on your career. And also get work experience as soon as you can, and start small. And if you're just starting out, like, I wouldn't really worry about getting paid. If you can get paid, that's good. But if it's like your first project or second project, the experience that you're going to get from the client is going to pay dividends throughout your entire career. And later on, once you have a little bit of experience, it's not going to be an issue getting paid regularly. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. But again, if you can get paid, like, absolutely go for it without thinking twice about it. But yeah, just keep in mind that experience is going to really pay a lot of dividends throughout your career. So just want to finish up saying to enjoy also the journey, because everything that you want to get to is eventually going to happen. Seems like a very long road now, but you're going to get there. So yeah, enjoy the journey, and hope this video was helpful. I'll see you in the next one.